good evening. Oh my goodness. I was trying to say hello and good evening at the same time. I was like, God, sorry about that. Good evening. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining. I apologize for being a few minutes late. I actually just came out of a client session, so you all have no idea what my schedule is like. I mean, I'm talking back to back. And look, I'm still dabbing my face because y'all, I get shiny. I get shiny. Y'all don't know, I get shiny. Okay. So I got to dab my face because I've been in sessions all day long and I just be getting shiny. But I just want to say good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, I'm good. Okay. I got my water. I was going to have a lozenge in because I've been talking all day, but good evening. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to have a special guest. You know what? Let me turn down my light a little bit. I don't know. Is it too light, y'all? Because my light is bright. Hold on. I'm going to turn it down. Let's take it down. There we go. That's a little bit better because it was like, whoosh, was really bright. But I have a special guest and we're going to have a very fun conversation tonight, all about boundaries and standards. We're going to talk about just some of the stuff that's going on out there in our social media world. So let me have her jump on in. You ready? Okay. She is going to talk to us all about our boundaries and our standards. We all need them. Okay, I thought I brought her in. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. Hello, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm doing well. How are
Awesome.
you?
Okay, let me turn my phone up. Okay, there we go. And hopefully you all can hear me. Can you all hear me okay? Hopefully they can. I had to prop my phone up on some books.
Oh, yeah, sometimes it
But
covers the
hopefully,
mic.
yes, hopefully you all can hear me. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay, I think so. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about boundaries and standards.
What are
And
those?
we're going to talk about what they are and what they're not. So in my humble opinion, I mean, you've already seen the little list that's going around of all the
Everybody.
places that we shouldn't be going. Okay. And we want your thoughts on it. Is that a boundary? Is that a standard? What do you think?
I think it's a block, a blessing block. That's honestly what I think. I let the ladies have the conversation. We did a conversation on my last YouTube show, and I just let everyone talk and say the reasons why. Um, and one of the most interesting things at the end, I said, how would you like broach this? It's one thing to theoretically say, oh, I don't want to go here, but I'm like, how would this happen in real time? So the guy
Right.
says, hey, Anita, I think you're great. I'd like to meet up. You want to go to Chili's next Tuesday. How would you say it? And
Right.
one lady actually said she'd be like, that's nasty. I don't like eating there. I was like, oh
Oh,
my
Lord.
God. I think that the biggest issue that women have, I know I'm probably jumping ahead, but I think the biggest issue that women have is not understanding the way men develop feelings. And if
Right.
they did, they would realize they're doing a lot of things that are turning them off
Oh,
before they even make the attachment. And I'll just say this to kind of sum it up. At the beginning, it's not that you don't have standards or you don't have requirements. It's not saying throw it out the window and just be grateful that any man wants to be with you. But
right.
if you actually are feeling a guy, you want to allow him a little bit of time to develop an interest in you.
Right.
And then once he's interested, you could start to make demands.
Yeah.
And I say demands, with air quotes, you're not demanding like
Yeah.
this, but it's kind of like an investor. Like if you don't know me from Adam, I can't come in and be like, Anita, give me 6 million. Da, 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 da. Now, if you know me, you've gotten to know me, you see I have a great business mind and
Mhm.
I've had 6 successful companies. Now we're in a position to be like, hey, Anita, if you
Yeah.
give me 6 million, I can. And I think they're coming in out the gate. Hey, 2018, thank you for the badge. She
Yeah.
she dropped your first
Oh,
badge. She got to
thank
shout her out.
you. Yes, thank
She's
you.
amazing.
Yep.
um but I think that's the biggest thing. So it's like, in theory, yes, you might not like this place, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not going for a dining experience. We're going for the connection. We're going to see if there's chemistry. And I'm sure you can laugh about it later and be like, I actually hate chilies.
Yeah.
So in the future, I really don't want to go there again, but
Right.
that's after you've established a connection. So sorry to be so long-winded. I've not been able to get it off my chest yet since
No, but
Tuesday.
that is the point. That is the point that I have been making. Like, why are we focusing so much on the experience and not the person? Like, I'm confused.
There's
Aren't we trying to figure out if we like the person?
right.
That's
There's
it.
one woman who said, and I really like having people be able to come and talk, because it's one thing in the
Mhm.
comments, but it's another actually hear them say it all the way through. And there is a perception that everyone sees things the same way. So
Right.
I think we could all agree if someone said, hey, let's go to McDonald's, that's kind of low level,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're not like, okay, wow. We can all agree because that's so dramatic.
Yeah.
That's fast food. But there are people who truly like chilies and think it's
Yeah.
a cool environment, and there are other people who think it's disgusting. So I think the mistake is to assume that if a man uh, asks you to go to a place that you deem not cool, that
Right.
he would understand this, and that there's a meaning attached to it, is what I'm saying. Like, he's
Yeah.
looking at it like, oh, she's low level, I can take her to Chili's. It might not be that deep to
Right.
him. There's one of my clients, she said she does not do bowling. She
Mm.
refuses to do bowling, and she makes it known before the first date. And I
Okay. And again, like I said, I want women to be open. And yes, you can have a standard. And here's the thing, I want that standard tied to a value, like not a preference, but a value. So, for instance, number 7 on the list is tied to a value. You will not come to my home, and I will not come to your home,
right,
because that's a part of my value system. I
right,
don't feel comfortable letting someone I don't know that well into my personal space or going to your personal space. So, see
which
how
is not a
that's
preference.
right.
It's a necessity. Yeah.
But as far as, some of these things on this list, it is a preference. Um, and here's what I did tell a client of mine when we discussed it. I said, okay, and, I believe the feminine way is you allow a man to approach you. You allow a man to say, hey, I'm really interested in you. I'd love to take you out. He has something planned. He has the day picked out, the time picked out. He's asked you how you feel about it. And you go, okay, yeah, I'm free on Saturday at 7. That sounds amazing. And he says, great, I've planned a date. I picked
Hmm.
out a wonderful place and I know what we're doing. And like you said, in real time, okay, do you then say, well, where is it? Because there's all these places that I don't go. Or do
Right.
or do you do the feminine thing, which is you are
Yeah.
led, right?
Yeah. I think that, naturally most guys will sort of give a little bit. I think, it's they're gonna give you something, but I said the basics to me for a man would be to, at the very least, tell her how to dress. You know, wear
Exactly.
something comfortable. We're gonna be doing a lot of walking, because some guys want to make
Exactly.
it special and they want to wow you, and so they,
Yep.
and this is also too, not to detour, but I'm gonna detour a little bit. This is also too where we have to do more work up front, in my
Right.
opinion,
Right.
because if you take, for example, my guy and I, we literally talked for a month before we met in person. Now, granted, we were long distance, so there
Yeah.
was a plane ticket involved, but by the time we hung out, we knew each other. Like, not only did we know each
Mhm.
other, we knew, like, this is gonna be my person.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that can happen to build that connection. And honestly, when I was out there, which only 6 weeks or 6 weeks, 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I couldn't even get past the phone vetting stage,
Right.
because not because, obviously there were some guys who, just kind of fell off, but most of them, I just didn't like the guy enough. And my
Yep.
thing is, if I'm going to take the time to get all dolled up, I have a child, from my previous marriage, and
Mhm.
so well, one at home, but I have to get a sitter. I'm going through all these things. I'm going to make sure by the time it gets to an in-person date, it's a pretty good connection.
Right.
So all of these conversations, I think a lot of them could be just done away with
Yep.
if you have heart to heart conversations.
That's
And
right.
it's going to come out if you have an allergy to seafood. It's going to come out that you're a vegan. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these things that are used as excuses to shun certain things are like, well, it's because he would know that by now.
Yep.
But to answer your question, yes, I like to let the guy go with the flow.
Yeah.
I've had guys
Same.
ask me their opinion, or they say, this is what we're doing.
That's
And, you know, I'll look and make sure it's a safe neighborhood, or, you know, if I need to have a friend me there and just kind of lurking in the back, whatever you need to do to feel safe. But yeah, you want to let him be in his I'm saying his feminine, be in his masculine from point one, point A. And I've heard guys say they will give kind of like a low commitment date. That's where they start, but in the back of their mind, they're like, if things go right, if things go well, we're going to move on to the ice cream parlor. Then after the ice cream parlor, there was this really cool museum, because they're not going to plan out this elaborate 6 hour, not 6 hour, you know what I'm saying, you know, 3 hour thing if it's already at the top, you know, not a vibe. So
exactly.
I just think some people are missing out on a blessing. My ex-husband and I, when, you know, the person I married, we went out in a strip mall. We worked together. And so we ended up just going, you know what, let's go grab lunch. And it was a strip mall. And on top of that, he forgot his wallet. He was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I ended up marrying the guy 3 months later. Yep. So we're getting engaged 3 months later. Yeah. So.
Yep. But ladies, I really need you to assess your values. You are missing the mark by focusing on things that don't matter. This stuff doesn't matter. Oh, you don't. So y'all don't want to hear my story. You don't want to hear the fact that I was a school teacher. My ex-husband was in med school. He was a broke med school student, and you don't even want a clue of what our first date was in Atlanta. And now the man is worth millions. You know, so again, you are blocking your blessing.
Yeah. Like, that's a good point to bring up. You know, my guy and I, my ex-husband, we're not together for reasons that are not financial, and very successful guy, extremely successful. And it was funny because he presented a lot of things that looked crazy, and he even talked about it. He's like, you're one of the first women who didn't judge me. He had a really nice car, but he had let a friend drive it, and they crashed it. So he was driving some like crazy rental, whatever, that wasn't anything special. His housing situation was crazy because he was about to buy a 4-unit property. And so he was temporarily renting or being like a roommate with a guy, literally just to build his credit. Had tons of money in the bank because he was about to invest. The guy was like, can you just help me for a few months to get my credit up? So on the outside looking in, I could have been like, oh my God, this guy is a, you know, buster. He's whatever. But I spent more time focusing on the things that mattered. And he ended up being completely stable, more than stable, and took very good care of me during the marriage.
So, and everyone knows I stayed at home for 12 years. So this
same thing, 12 years stayed at home. Yeah.
And this is what modern day women are missing. Like, you were focusing on the wrong thing. Yes, every woman knows this. I always tell women, sometimes you need to get that dark horse. You need to bet on that dark horse, like your ex. You know, it didn't look like he wasn't the best looking horse straight out of the barn, but he won the race. He won the race. He was capable of winning the race, even if he didn't look like it.
Yeah.
That's called a dark horse. And you got to know how to pick a guy like that.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has a vision. He has a plan. He's ambitious, right? He may not have it all now, but he will. But he will. We don't talk enough about that.
Yeah. And
like,
even the money, even the money part, you know, and I hate to go off of money, but there's the reality that, you know, that we need to be cared for, whatever. So we're not trying to be living in someone's mom's basement. So obviously we're not denying that. However, I have found that the men who don't come out flashy, the men who maybe aren't necessarily super wealthy, there are issues. I'll just say this. There are issues that come with men who are very wealthy. And I think there's this fantasy put out there by social media that you want this guy who's just this baller, out of control, you know, drop dead gorgeous, all this stuff. And not to say don't go for someone because they have all this stuff, but it's be wary, because a lot of times you say what is it? What is that? There's a saying about money and corrupting. I was going to say bad company corrupts good morals. That's the wrong quote. But there's something about money where it can bring out the worst in somebody. And so a lot of times the guys who have money feel like they could rely so heavily on that. She's just going to be so happy with this, just like a woman with beauty. Oh, they'll take what they can get. Sometimes it's better to have the guy who's more humble, who's a little bit, you know, working a little bit harder. He's not quite at his goals and will just cherish you and feels like he just scored landing you. I would rather that guy than the guy who says, which I have seen, I can get any girl I want. You know, that's a whole different energy. I'm good.
That I have options guy.
I was with that guy. Yeah.
It's
not fun.
a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I have options. I have options. I'm like, oh Lord.
Yeah. Exercise your options. I'm good. Thank you.
I
want the guy who cherishes me. I want him to be waking up every day pinching himself, and me too. Like, how did I get so lucky? I want this one guy. And that's the thing, that if there's one soundbite that comes out of this conversation that I want women to hold on to, all these things, like you said, needs to be tied to value. As somebody who has been divorced, as somebody who had 8 years of singleness, and singleness is not fun, okay? It's as much as people want to talk about hot girl summer, and no, it's not fun if you have a feminine, nurturing spirit and you want to be in a committed relationship. It's not fun. But at the end of the day, what makes most women feel good and whole and complete is a man who truly cherishes her. If you have that single factor, so many other things can be worked out, because that's the motivator. And so many women are in relationships where the man is apathetic, which is the complete opposite, and all these problems stem from there. So I would say, if you can only focus on one thing, obviously you have your deal breakers. If you have certain things that are just absolute deal breakers, once you've passed that, focus on his character. It is understated and it sounds cheesy, but at the end of the day, you guys are the ones staring at each other every single day, going to bed together every single night. You want someone with a good character, who has a tender heart and thinks you are the bee's knees. That's it. That's what matters.
And that's at the top of my need list. So when I talk about my 3 lists, it's called Self-Discovery Relationship Tool. The very top of the need list is, he cannot live without me. I am his dream girl. That is what I need. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a want, it's a need. That man must think I'm the bee's knees.
Yeah.
All right. So, and it's sad to me that women are not prioritizing that.
Can I say, it's so cute. So, and you have to excuse me, we're still in the honeymoon phase because it's only 6 months, right? But this is so new to me. And even and I'll say this, because I try to be really careful not speaking ill of, you know, my ex, because he didn't ask me on social media, but there were a lot of things that I fumbled the ball that created a different dynamic. And so I never got to experience this, even in marriage. I never got to experience this. So just, we won't get into the details of why, but so this is new to me, even though I'm a married person. I was formerly married. All of these experiences are new. And so you're talking about someone who can't live with you. My guy had a 2-day business conference. It was only 30 minutes away. But by the second day, he came and was like, I need you to come. And he was talking about me so much to everybody at the company that the CEO was like, bring her over here. Let's, you know, because they were playing pool and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is what I want. I don't want a guy who could just travel for 2 weeks, barely call. You know, the guy's like, oh, I've just been so busy. I just haven't. I could. Boy, bye. Like, you want someone who is on you, like white on rice. At the end of the day, that is all that matters. That is all that matters.
And ladies, it's still possible. It is still possible. A lot of women, they don't believe it's possible, but it is still possible. Love is still out here to be had. Now, here's the thing. You have to be willing to do your work, because one of the things I talked about in the response video I did to the list is that if you're not securely attached, like if you need a 3-ring circus to keep your attention, that's a problem. Like, can we keep it real? The good guys, the stable guys, they are securely attached. But guess
Very
what?
much so.
They're not flashy. They don't have the fireworks and, you know, the big, what are those huge arms full of roses? Like, they're not doing it. They're popping bottles and, oh my God, like the good guys that, like you said, can't live without you. They are secure and stable and solid it's not going to feel like all of this.
All the over the top. By the way, Queen of Cascades, thank you for the love. She
Thank
just bought you another
you.
badge.
Yes,
Just
thank you.
awesome people. Yeah, I told the story, I think it was no, 2 nights ago, someone's live stream I was on, and I said I was so concerned with connecting to the actual person and not getting caught up in the experience that I told him, when we do hang out, please do not wine and dine me. I said, I want to see, I called it a boring Tuesday. I want to see what boring Tuesday Monte is like, so that I can see if I actually like you, and not be like on The Bachelor where, oh my God, we actually come off the show and realize it was just all the elaborate stuff that made me fall. And so once we actually connected and did the boring stuff and was like, we really like each other, now we can do the getting dressed up. Now we can go dancing, listening to live music, because it actually means something to me.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. My speaker won't let me mute. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I want to see people do things in the reverse.
Yeah.
Because if you connect, if that's your person, you got the rest of your life to do that stuff.
And, you know, I think the fairy tale, I said it recently on a video where I just said, I truly think that women think they're living in a rom-com. Right. I was one of those people. I really was. Like, I thought that the guys would just intrinsically know what to say. If he understood me, he could basically read my mind. It would be these beautiful moments, not realizing a lot of women have written this stuff. And so there's this idea that he's going to see you, you're going to be drop dead gorgeous, and how we're talking about he cherishes us and he can't live without us, but they think it's instantaneous. And this is where I have to be careful how I describe this. Everyone has value. So it's like, working with clients, you have to work on their self-esteem, make sure that they at least see themselves in a realistic way. But there's a pendulum swing. You go beyond that, where it's like, yes, you have value, but it has to be discovered. Like, as a stranger, I don't know your value. I have to spend time with you to see your heart, to see your character, to understand what you bring to the table, right? Because I think you should never ask that actual question out loud. But it takes time to develop that. And so I watch these shows, guilty pleasure. I love watching Bachelor in Paradise, because it shows sped up process of how dating works. But these women get so devastated when a man is not head over heels in love after one date.
It doesn't work that way.
It's like, it takes time. And I think that there's this idea that if you really value yourself and you're feminine, you're just this mute who's beautiful and he's just gonna be raving over you. No, you have to work on a personality. You have to do the things that make a man fall in love. It's not manipulation, but it's the same way he has to learn how to do things that make you get the goosebumps and, oh my God, he's amazing. Men need that too. So when I talk about those things, I had a woman today comment, "You sound like a pick-me." And I said, honey, I know you meant that as a dig, but it's not a dig. I literally coach women on how to get picked. I got picked. I'm thrilled about being picked. This is literally what we're trying to do.
Exactly.
You threw a stone, but it wasn't a stone. Like,
no. But ladies, I want you to focus on your values. I want you to also understand, this is one thing that I wanted to stress tonight, is your ick is not necessarily a deal breaker, right? So sometimes you have an ick, right? We all have it. There's just this thing that you're just like, but technically it's just an ick. Like, it's just a quirk, or
that could be discussed later.
Yeah. That's it. It's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And I've had many a man show up, and I like a man who has, well manicured hands. That's my thing. That's my jam. And I had a guy show up, and I was like, those hands need work. That's all I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? He wound up being a Christ lover. He wound up being incredibly intelligent, which is definitely my jam. Like, we had this, oh my God, this amazing conversation. And I was like, oh, wow, this guy's deep, So see, I was like, you know what? He's hitting other spots that I like. That nail conversation, like you said, it's a down the line. You know what I really love? You know what really turns me on? See, and he's like, okay, like that's the conversation conversation you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men, do your nails though. That is hard to get through dinner. I had a man show up with dirty, long nails, and he kept showing me stuff on his phone, so he kept pointing at things, and I was like,
That's my
trying to eat my. Oh.
That is
or I
my
zoom in
ick.
on the photos. Yes,
Yeah.
I get so grossed out
Yes.
when I was on the apps, and I'd zoom in, and I'm like, man, don't you see your hands? Like, don't you see your, like, clean them, soak them, do what you needed to do.
Yeah. But I
Sorry.
admit that is my ick. But I say, okay, Anita, this is not necessarily a deal breaker. It's not bumping against a value you have.
Yes.
It's something that you're going to address if this goes further.
Yes.
Like, hey, you know what I really think is wonderful? And he's going to say, what? You know, because by then he wants to make me happy.
He has an incentive.
That's it.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the 3 lists. We'll see if I get my brain to remember. But when we're getting a woman together with her vetting process, I have her put things in 3 columns, and there are preferences, which, you know, that can come and go, and then there are the must-haves. I can't move forward if you don't have this.
Right.
And then there are the deal breakers. If you have this, I can't move forward.
Nope.
And what you're saying is, you know, get clear on what's in that first column versus the other 2. And I'll give an example if we have time. It could be, for example, preference. I want him to have his nails done. That's a preference. Then the must have is he has to have a relationship with the Lord. And then a deal breaker could be, let's just say he doesn't want kids, or he does want, in my case, he does want kids and I don't want any more. That would be a deal breaker. So the things that are absolute, we can't navigate outside of them are the second 2 columns.
Right.
But that first one, gotta give some, it's okay to know what your things are, but have some wiggle room with those.
That's it.
It can be slim pickings out here. We can't be making it harder than it needs to be.
Exactly. And so, ladies, a boundary could be the way you're spoken to. A boundary could be, what's another? So here's one of my boundaries is the relationship you have with your ex.
Oh.
I try to find that out on the front end, because if that relationship is too cozy, that would be a boundary for me. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship with a man whose ex is his best friend, or, you know, like
send each other memes.
That doesn't feel good to me. So the things that I know are my boundaries, I try to find that out as soon as possible. I'm like, go there with the boundaries so that we can, you know, determine if we want to go further. But
she had a great question. I like this one. She said, is age range a preference or a standard? I absolutely think it's a preference.
I think it's a preference too. It's a preference.
I wanted someone older than me. It's funny, I really went older. I married someone 14 and a half years older. But I just tended to do better with older men. And then I ended up being with a guy who's 3 years younger. So, and then I had a preference on height. You know, I prefer, there's just something about when I'm in my heels, I'm very tall. I like 6'2" to 6'5". That's like the perfect height. And it's not a height thing, because I've had a guy 6'8", and I was like, oh, you're too tall. It's like a thing how I fit, right? And so after a while, because on a dating app, you have to literally change the little dial. I lowered it, and I was like, I don't really wear heels that much anymore. So if a guy is at least 5'10", he's still a couple inches taller than me. And guess what? I ended up with a guy with 5'10". So it's amazing. I would not trade him for the world. So I definitely would say age, definitely. I think it's one of those things where it's like, if it's not going to affect lifestyle, right? You know what I mean? We're not talking about a 10-year age difference where he's in a completely different phase of his life. You know, I would not recommend a 19-year-old walks up to you and you're like, oh, okay, you know. But it's more of, is this going to affect your lifestyle? So versus the faith thing, we're not going to be on the same page, raising children, our everyday stuff, or things like that, you know. Him not wanting kids or wanting kids, that's going to affect our lifestyle. I'm going to be not wanting to build my family. He's going to be wanting to build. So I think the things that are deal breakers are the ones that actually affect your life. The nails thing, we can go to the salon. I actually will do his nails. I'll be like, oh, they're getting a little long, and I'll come in, you know, do all that stuff.
But ladies, I want you to think about what those boundaries are. Another boundary I have is I don't give men money. Like, I am 55 and I have never. And women, they challenge me. Well, what about when you were married? Well, when I was married, I didn't work. So any money that my husband got from me was his
Yeah.
money. Like,
I had a guy
that's how
hit me
that
for
went.
35,000.
Yeah.
I think it was like a second after one date.
Yeah.
He hit me with some weird, I was like, what? It's allegedly his
That
sister had
is,
cancer and she needed something. I was like, how do you even fix your mouth? Ask them for 35.
yeah, that is a boundary. I do not give men money. I do not feel comfortable giving men money.
Yeah.
And I have yet to do it. I came from a very masculine, strong father. My father is 81 now. We still cannot take him out for Father's Day and I pay.
Aww.
He will not.
Yeah.
He's like,
My brother's
absolutely
like
not.
that. I'm
So
40 and he'd be like, put
yeah,
your wallet away. Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
So I just don't feel comfortable doing that. And so you've got to know what boundaries work for you. Like
Yeah.
going over to his home or giving him money or whatever that looks like. You
Yeah.
got to search your heart and say, what are my boundaries? What are the things I don't feel comfortable doing? And then you stand on that.
Yeah.
You stand on that. Here's something I want everyone on this live to think about. I was actually challenged to do this by another coach, and I surprised myself. It took about 40 days, but I actually surprised myself, and I boiled down my top 3 things that I needed. Because she says, you get 3. And I was like, only 3? She's like, you only get 3. And it took 40 days. It took me writing out all these things, and I was like crossing through things and adding things, but I finally did it. I came up with my top 3 things. And so now they're on my bathroom mirror. And she said, now watch what happens when you simply focus on those top 3 things.
Yeah.
Like it's like laser focus now.
Yeah.
As opposed to 20 things, you're going to focus on these 3. She said, and guess what? You're probably going to get some of those other things, but you're focused. You're focused. So I want to challenge you all. If you're looking for your person, try to think of the top 3 things that you need from that person or in that relationship. It took me 40 days, but I did it.
Funny, because I was thinking about that when you said it, and the word that kept popping up in my recent years was kindness. Like kindness, because kindness trickles down to a lot of other things. And so I was challenging myself to see if I could think of 3 while you were saying that. So I would probably say
one of them kindness.
At the very, very top, because it affects my lifestyle, my faith, obviously, having an actual relationship with God, not like a checkbox Christian. Because
that was my number 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
I said faith in word and deed.
Okay.
So in word and deed. So you know him, you love him, you obey him. That's it right there. And that covers a whole lot. That right there covers a whole lot.
And then it ends up, if you truly have a relationship, you're going to have the kindness. So I would say his relationship with the Lord, kindness, and then an ability to communicate. There is something so sexy to me, because I feel like most problems stem from a lack of the ability to communicate, whether it's because you can't control your emotions while you're communicating, whether it's you are too upset to communicate. So many things can be eliminated. We can discover things that we don't have to wait 12 years for it to come out because you communicate. That stuff is so important. And so for me, having been in a very volatile situation where I walked on eggshells, we couldn't talk about hardly anything. It was just there was meanness, condescending. I realized communication is big for me. Okay. And then outside of that, if you can communicate your needs for all the other stuff.
See, so that's your top 3. But I tell people, if you could boil it down to 3 and get really focused, like you're going to see some people like come across your path, because I have.
Yeah.
Since I've done that, some people, I'm like, oh, this works. I've seen some people start coming across my path that are hitting on those 3 things.
Yeah.
It's like, I was spread out all over the place. That's what it was. So yeah, I want to give you all that challenge. Think about what those 3 things would be. But yes, faith was number 1 in word. So he knows him, he loves him, he obeys him. That's it. So it ain't just church and then going to brunch and then posting that you did that. No, I'm talking about all the other 6 days. Right. Ooh. Yep. You got
I
to
know
be
my
real about
believers know.
it. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
I'd be like,
Okay. We have a question. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, they might have taken it off. Okay, I thought I saw a question there. Any questions before we leave, ladies, gentlemen? But ladies, seriously, I want you to do that work. Make sure that you're securely attached, because if you need that 3-ring circus for you to go out to dinner or to lunch or brunch, I want you to check yourself on that,
yeah,
because it's not about him, it's about that experience. And
right.
I have been duped. Like I just shared recently that I got duped by the experience, by the
All the razzle
fabulosity,
dazzle.
right? Oh Lord. And I was like, oh, I was like, wait a minute, how do I feel about you?
Yes,
And
yes.
once I started focusing on that, it's almost like peeling back the curtain. And that's how I described it to people. It was like I
Yeah,
was in Oz, right? So it was like the Wizard of Oz and all the fabulousness of the wizard. But when I went back there and pulled back that curtain and I saw it was just a little feeble man with all these little things he was clicking and doing, I said, oh, that's who you
yes.
are.
It's hard to stay focused. When you said that about the razzle dazzle, I think about probably the most impressive situation. There was a gentleman. He was, he was pretty well off, and I remember he hit me up kind of last minute because we had been talking for conversing. We had done business together for a while, so it wasn't like someone I didn't know, but we hadn't dated. So he said, "You know what? I was heading to the Bruno Mars concert. Would you like to come?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, in my head, I want to, but I just got back from work in LA. I'm like sitting in the traffic for 40 minutes. It doesn't sound fun. He said, "Oh, I'll send a car for you. I have a VIP package. We're gonna be back." And I was like, so I ended up, it was amazing. I could just go in the car, chilled out, whatever. We had backstage access. We had the whole experience. The concert was amazing. But at the end of the day, I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I ended up getting to know him and not liking him. But you have to be honest. It's like, if you're getting those types of experiences, it can be easy to be like, well, it's kind of like the guy who says she's gorgeous, so but her personality sucks. I'll stick around. You got to be careful when they have the real good razzle dazzle that you're not entertaining someone that you otherwise would have not given the time of day. Yeah,
the truth. It's the truth. Okay, she resent her question, so let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, wait a minute, it disappeared again.
That's weird.
Let me see. Resend it. Yeah, it disappeared, and it was 2 questions. Okay, see if you can resend it. But I want you all to be careful, because it has happened to me. And now it's almost like, yeah, I want that ice cream date. I want that walk in the park. I want to see who you are. I want to see if there's something real there. And then, we can, if there's a connection, we can do more things. But yeah, I got fooled myself. And when I started pulling that curtain back, I was like, oh, this person is not who they say they are.
Unsubscribe. Yeah.
I was like, no. And so, yeah, that I had to end that quickly, because I was like, you're not who you say you are, but you put on a good show and it did draw me in. But at some point, you have to be willing to pull that curtain back and see who that person is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it will
and
not.
I would say for the reverse, we have to have our standards and boundaries and things like that. And I think we also have to balance it out with understanding what the guy wants too, because worst case scenario, right, we have our boundaries laid out, we have our standards, and then we really like the guy, he's amazing, but we don't get the call back, we don't get the second date. And so if I would challenge women, if you are constantly getting asked on a first date, that means that there is enough that he's interested. But if you're not getting a second date, that means that not enough happened from the first date to sustain him. And so that's an area that I specialize in. If anyone wants to work on that, is what is desirable, what makes a man want to pick that woman. And I think a lot of times, we're told just sit back on our laurels and rely on our beauty or what have you, but the men are also having standards and they're having boundaries, so we gotta step it up.
Yeah, because I've been telling, and I've actually been talking to men about that. that men should have boundaries and standards. Men should vet women just like women vet men.
Yeah,
Like,
they
I
can't
want to
get
see
got.
everybody. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see everybody get better. Okay. What if the only effort you see is calling on the phone and he doesn't know what he wants to do?
To do in life or on the date?
Right.
I was like,
Yeah, that's
is
woo.
he at a crossroads?
Yeah.
I think men are action oriented
Mm-hmm.
to me, and there are guys who will come on my post sometimes and be like, yeah, but what if he's shy? And my response is always, women like us, we wouldn't want to deal with a guy who's shy. Like, if
Right.
you can't get it together to ask me, if that's your reason you haven't asked me if
Yeah.
you're shy, I don't want you, because how many other things are you going to be too timid? I
Yeah.
don't deal with timid. But I believe that men pee or get off the pot. I
That's it.
truly do. My guy knew day 2.
Yep.
He was like, we go together.
Yep.
And it took me a while to acquiesce, because I was like, sir, I just met you.
Yep.
How am I going to be a dating coach and be like 2 days in? So a week later, I was like, okay, I'm smitten. But he's like, we've been together. But they know. They might not tell you right away, but they know, and their actions back it. They are going to communicate with you consistently. They are going to want to see you as much as possible. They are going to occupy cupcake hours. They are not leaving cupcake hours open at night for any other dude to slide in there. They are making sure they're getting on your schedule early, because they don't want to risk you already being booked and busy. They show. And so I think a lot of times the bar is so low because so many men operate from a low place, that it's scary. Like, well, if I have this expectation, I'm not ever gonna hang out with a guy. Well, yeah, I didn't go on a ton of dates. It was like this maybe a little spike for 8 years, because I got so good at vetting. And there are a lot of men who just like energy. Like, I just want the attention. I want to feel validated. Some men are not even single. They just want to know they still have it. So you got to be able to read through all that BS. And bottom line, if he is not actively pursuing, he's not that interested. And that is important, because he could be interested in your booty, interested in getting an ego stroke. But if he's not that interested to where he's trying to get to know you and take you off the market.
That's it. Okay. She put her question in the chat because for some reason the questions weren't working. What is a feminine way to discuss food allergies to a guy without him feeling rejected? Example, seafood allergy and asked out to Red Lobster.
Did you want me to start?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's just organic. If he says, hey, I'd love to take you out to Red Lobster. I think being fun and playful is one of the best things you can do, because oh my gosh, you're going to be so mad at me. I absolutely am so allergic. Like, I can't even go in the parking lot. You can make a joke, I can't even roll my cart down the seafood frozen. Like, you make a joke, make it lighthearted. Oh, that would be so amazing. And praise him. I love that you already knew where you wanted to go. You had praise him, because guys they're not that sensitive. But reinforce. I hate to say it this way, because it might sound like I'm being disrespectful or patronizing, but think of it like a child. You reinforce the stuff that you want to see, and you speak to the things that you don't want to see. Lots of affirmations and things like that. So I would, if he's stumbling, maybe you can offer a suggestion. You could say, they don't really have a lot of items that have, if you really like seafood, they don't really have a lot of items there, but this place has a little bit more variety, or something like that. But I think most guys would be okay. They would rather know up front than to take you there, and now your face is all swollen, or you only have 2 things to choose from, and he's like, oh God. Because men want you to have fun on the date, but you just never want to make it sound like you're scolding him, or how could you, how did you not know this? And I think that sometimes women don't realize the amount of pressure and stress that a man is under. Even though if he does it right, he looks cool as a cucumber, under the surface he's like doggy pedaling. So I think the more you can be a safe space, it starts from the very beginning. Oh, I love that you didn't wait till the last minute. I love that it's Tuesday and you're booking our date for Saturday. That means a lot to me, right? Planting those seeds. And I don't want to be a killjoy. I don't want you in any way to think I'm not interested. It's just, I have a seafood allergy. So whatever you need to say, I don't think a guy would have a problem with that.
But ladies, I'm in the process of revising the first book, Choose Well. There are so many things, believe it or not, that I've learned since I published that book almost 2 years ago. And I have several new chapters. One of the chapters is talking all about determining a man's level of commitment. That is super important because I'm seeing women investing in men or giving men like all of these
Mm,
chances, and that man is saying, I'm not ready for anything real. Like,
90% of the people.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta, you gotta cut them clean off
Yeah.
because your time is valuable. And so there's going to be an entire chapter dedicated to, I need to very quickly determine what this man's level of commitment is, relationship. Because remember, most people want companionship.
Yeah. Oh,
Like most people want
yeah.
companionship. They want a
Mm-hmm.
person to do things with. They want to have fun. They love your feminine energy. Oh my gosh. They would love to suck up your feminine energy. However, you're looking for something real. You're
Mm-hmm.
looking for a man who's ready to be responsible for your heart and your feelings and everything else.
Yeah.
So please be mindful of that because, and it's what we call consumers. Most men out here are consumers. They will consume you all up, right? They're not buying, they're not investing, they're consuming. It's
But
like
and
that guy
we
in BJ,
allow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
guy in BJ's, if they're giving out free wings, you know how they have, oh, we're testing out the wings. That guy will come around to that card over and over and over. Oh, okay, free wings, free wings. No, he is a consumer. He needs to go to aisle 7 and buy them. Okay, you like these wings, sir? You need to go to aisle 7 and buy these
Yeah.
wings. Like, okay.
And then you
No.
can't get mad at men because there's a lot of bitterness that grows. So you don't vet the guy properly. So then your time gets wasted because you were not an active participant in the vetting process.
That's
Then
it.
you're mad that 7 months of time has gone by. You're attached to this guy.
Yep.
It was from the beginning, it was already what it was. Shout out to cruise season, by the way. Thanks for tapping in.
All right.
And then now you're bitter and you say, all men do this. You can always
Right.
spot, you know this as a content creator. You can spot a
Yep.
bitter woman like this,
I
just
sure
like you
can.
spot a bitter man. And they say, all men do this. All honey, no, the ones that you let on the porch. Because he's not even getting off the curb. He
See?
might slow the car down and even stop and roll the window down. He's not getting let on the porch.
Nope.
He certainly don't even think about the house. You
Nope.
let him come in the house.
See?
You let him rent a room.
See?
He's playing video games in the back. Honey, your job as a woman is to vet. You are a door. You either grant access or deny access.
That's
You
it.
can't talk about he wasted my time, honey. That you are the homeowner.
See?
You gonna talk about he what?
Yep.
Unless he strong armed you, I'll give that caveat, right? Because there are some men who are physical and abuse.
Yeah.
Unless he is physically
Right.
overpowering you, he cannot do anything you do not allow him to
That's
do.
it.
You are allowing him on your phone.
That's it.
You are allowing him to text
See?
you. You are allowing him to come by. You are allowing him to impregnate you. We're not gonna be victims over here. Not today.
I know
Not
that's
today.
right. No. Nope. So with
Nope,
great power, ladies, remember this. Femininity is power. And with great power comes great responsibility. Okay? That's what I want you to remember, that I want you to step into that power. I want you to vet that man properly. I want you to make sure, be a good gatekeeper. This is what I'm always telling women. You are the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper, yeah.
Be a good gatekeeper. But my new book, my revised book is going to give y'all just a little more game because I was like, oh, I done learned some things. I need to update this book. So yes, that's going to be coming out in November. I'm going to have a big Black Friday sale. Yancy, what do you have going on? What's going on in your world?
Well, I'm so proud of myself because I jokingly but truthfully talk about how ghetto I'm like, oh, just DM me, girl. If you want this, just DM me, right? I finally put my classes online. I am so proud of myself. Yes. I actually took the time to put my classes. So y'all just go shopping. I got a little bit of everything. If you like this kind of conversation, this is how my classes are. We do them, record them. It's video, and we talk. We have flirting techniques. I share the way that I got my guy. There was a technique I actually learned. Someone else posted about it, and I said, let me try it. game changer when it
Oh,
came
yeah.
to online dating. So if you're an online dater like I was a serial online dater. I have stuff like that. I have how to nail a first date, probably a bad choice of words, how to master the first date.
Yeah.
I just did one for women in relationships last night. It is about, the common missteps that women make once they get comfortable in the relationship. This is my guy, we're good, we're married, whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So just go to my website, myname.com, my account name.com, so chasingauntie.com, and go pick. There's a little bit of something for everybody, but we are so aligned. If you like Anita's stuff, you're going to love my stuff. If you like my stuff, you like Anita's stuff. I started following her. I think it's been years now we've been following each other. We're very aligned. Even some of the stuff you're talking about, gatekeeping, I'm like, think of yourself as a super hot nightclub. Not everybody gets to come in.
They sure don't.
Yes, I just want to imagine for like 2 seconds if women understand there's a more crude way of saying P power, right? There literally is so much power.
And they need to step in it.
Step into it. That's my tagline. Because I said, if we just imagine for one day, if women stood in solidarity and said, we recognize what we have to offer. And I don't just mean lovemaking. Literally, when I say P word, it's like all of it. We are an essence. We are an experience to be experienced. And so if we all in solidarity realize what we were, it would raise the bar, because men truly are like the real estate market. Whatever, if the cost goes up, people don't stop buying. They just start to get they adjust. They got to get a second job, whatever. So men will adapt to what you think that you are worth. And I don't mean it from a cocky standpoint, but truly, if you feel like I'm not the type of chick that puts out in the first date, or I'm not a chick who's going to give a man 2 babies without a ring, they will acquiesce. And then again, you got to have the other side, but you have to do the work. You're not just valuable to a man because you have value, because God gave you value, but you're not valuable to a man just because you have one of these. There are other things that you have to work on and develop and tap into, which is what someone like us can help you get there. So step into your power. My God, and the men win. It's not like they're winning. It's not like they're being manipulated. And God, men love when a woman knows what she has and has him wrapped around her finger, because he's like, she's giving him everything he wants, and he's like, just say how high, jump how high. It's like, it's this beautiful dynamic where both of you are winning. So the world would be a better place if we could just, as women, step back into that position.
I agree. But guess what? Yancy and I were a part of the solution. That's what I love about her platform, because she's part of the solution, right? That's what we're out here trying to do. Do you coach one-on-one? Are you coaching people one-on-one?
You're so sweet. I'm terrible. I never talk about it. I do one-on-one coaching Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do video. You can have a video on or off. I have a course, first date. I'm sorry, I'm confused with First Date 101. That's my ebook. Dating 101. It's a 4.5-hour course if you're like serious and you want to just dive in there. So we've got one-on-one coaching, short little video webinars if you have a shorter attention span. We've got the big old course that comes with worksheets and things like that. And I have a couple of ebooks. So pretty much like wherever somebody's budget is, or maybe they have the money, but they like, girl, I don't know what you about. You just want to get your foot in the door. You can find a little bit of everything. I respond to every single DM. So if you guys have a question, not the guys, but but the women, if you genuinely have a concern, even if they ask a question, they can, and they don't want to do one-on-one coaching, I'll answer in the real. It might be 6 months before I answer it. So you might not even talk to the guy anymore, but I really do want to help. I genuinely care. And I could tell that about you too, that you're invested. Because I mean, this isn't something you do to become a millionaire.
No, but I am part of the solution. And I want you all to understand that. I give you all that kind of tough love auntie vibe. But it's because I love you all. And I know you're better. I know you're better. You're better than this. Like when I see people doing stuff, I'm like, no, you're better than this. So I am going to come for you a little, because I'm like, you better than this. I don't want to see this behavior. Like, you come up to where I know is your rightful place.
The friend that will tell you got some spinach in your teeth. Don't let me walk around the whole day and we gonna fight, Anita.
Yep.
Get me together, please.
See? Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I so appreciate you. I hope you all got value out of this live. I know I did. I always do. I have so many wonderful influencer friends, wonderful content creators. We're doing some amazing stuff in this space. So please please follow. I'm going to post this. And feel free to keep commenting. Feel free to keep leaving your thoughts and your comments here, okay? Thank you so much, Yancy, for coming on.
Awesome.
Thank you,
for all the
everyone,
badges,
for joining
everybody.
us. Yes, thank you for buying badges. I'm always on people about that. Thank you so much for joining. And as always, stay open to love.
Good night, guys.